I don't know how to start this video. I guess we're back, kinda, not really. I thought I was back, but I'm not. I've got a car that runs 5 seconds slower than it usually does. No, not that bad. 8, 9, 10, 11, 3 seconds slower than it usually does. I'd like to try to get you up to speed here, but even I don't know what's happening, hence the lack of video for the last 3 weeks, because I'm like, I can't try to drag these guys along this journey because I don't even know where I'm going. And when I say I'm an emotional roller coaster sometimes, I mean it. If you've been following this channel from the beginning, all you've seen is the same thing. This car, 5.3 turbo junkyard stuff. Surprisingly, if you go back before that, before I started capturing the madness, I'm kind of all over the place. Started with a small block Chevy on pump gas that made like 300 horse. And then I wanted nitrous, so we did nitrous, and then we turned it to 85, and then it was a small block on methanol, and then it was back to 85 with a carburetor, and then it was gonna be EFI, and then I found this car and I bought it back. And I was like, you know what? I always want a big block. So we put a big block in it. And that thing was sweet. It was like a rare Morrison 555 on C16. I was like, yeah, this is everything I ever wanted. The thing went like 9.0 at 150 on motor. I was like, yep, this is awesome. And then I had to work on it, and then I got bored because I get bored really quick. And I was like, you know what? We should do the turbo thing. I haven't done a turbo yet. I've had nitrous, we've had like superchargers, we've had stick cars, we've had auto cars. I was like, I need a turbo. That's what I need. Everybody else is doing it, so all the cool guys are doing it. That's what I'm gonna do. So then we built this car. Now you're all caught up. Well, lo and behold, I've had this car running for like a year and a half-ish, not quite. Guess what? I got bored. So the worst thing I can ever do is drive to the racetrack by myself. It leaves far too much time for me to think, come up with wild ideas. So I left Brainerd, and if you're not caught up, if for some reason this is the first video you're ever watching, let me back up a little bit. We go to Brainerd, and I scatter this thing for like the 3rd time. Every time it's completely self-induced. Now, when I say self-induced, I mean self-induced. Everything that's ever gone wrong in this channel is because I get a little wild and I get impatient and I just want to see stuff happen. So I don't think and I just do stuff, i.e. what happened at Brainerd. So if you watched the Brainerd video, it's the last video, 52 pounds of boost, not intentional. For the first time ever, I was actually not trying to blow something up. Like Grove Creek last year, I was like, haha, we're out of fuel. Let's just turn it up and see what happens. It'll be really cool. Okay, I let go. Before that, we did a huge wheel at LS Fest. Car went up, smashed the oil pan. And I was like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. I mean, this thing was like smashed clean into the pickup. And it was losing oil pressure top end of the track. And I was like, screw it, I want to race next weekend. We got super lucky. We won the Thunder Valley race after that. So the point is we've wrecked 3 motors. All my doing, and if you're curious what happened to the last one, I'm gonna try to illustrate it for you. So if you don't have CO2, so if you don't know how CO2 works, I'll try to give you a quick representation here. We've got, we're gonna call this a wastegate. We're gonna call these your solenoids. One's a plus, one's a minus, one adds CO2, one vents CO2. You've got your bottle, that's where the CO2 comes from. So the line goes in, well it actually, sorry, that's wrong. The line goes in, and from that point, it can either vent some off or add some to the top of the gate to get your desired pressure. So for an example on my car, on that combo, typically like 25 pounds of boost would make 29 pounds-ish. And that's what we were running at Brainerd that weekend. I'm kind of shooting from the hip. I don't remember the exact numbers. Long story short, we made a bunch of those short passes, and I thought I had enough to get that 4-second pass. So I said, well, if we command 34 pounds, I think it's gonna make like 35, 36 pounds up top. So I tell the ECU, I want 34 pounds of CO2 put on top of the wastegate, and that's gonna make our desired boost level. So we plugged in 34 into the boost first time, into the computer. This is where it goes wrong. So you've got a sensor here. It's actually not there, it's like over here, but you have a sensor. This sensor is your dome pressure sensor. So the ECU is looking to see the target number I'm asking for. So I was asking for 34. The problem is this was a 30 PSI sensor. So my sensor is 30 PSI. I'm asking for 34. So what happens now is the vent cell or the fill solenoid goes wide open. It's putting everything it can, trying to hit this target number. But if your sensor won't read the target number, you never get there. So as far as the Holly was concerned, it just stood on it. This fill solenoid was wide open the whole way down the track, trying to get to a number it could not get to. So what we learned in science is that combination could make 52 pounds of boost if you just stood on the wastegate and gave it everything you had. What we also learned is that the head will come up at 52 pounds, fill the cylinder with water, coolant, and proceed to hydrolock it and blow things to smithereens. So, recap. The number 3 motor, this was our third motor that I killed yet again with impatience, died from what we'll call a tuning error. So, that's how I killed it. Stupidity yet again. If you're wondering why didn't the safeties kick in, it's because I never use a safety because I'm ignorant, I guess you could say. I got burned one time. One time the car went into a huge wheelie, it hit a safety and shut off. So I said, screw it, I'm never gonna safety again. They're $300 motors, I don't care. So that motor died. I was not upset about it. It was like, okay, whatever, I had a few more laying around. We'll just put another one in. But I just wasn't excited about it. I was like, you know, we've done this so many times. I know we haven't capitalized, we haven't got to like 100% potential with it yet, but I'm kind of burnt out. I don't want to put another turbo motor in the car. So I started thinking, what do I want to do? What can I afford? Well, a few weeks ago, before I wrecked that motor in Brainerd, I saw this motor in Marketplace. It's high compression NA motor, and I was like, that thing is sweet, and I bet it bangs. Oh, I can't say that. I was like, I bet it chops. So it'd been kind of lingering in the back of my mind. I was like, I don't want to do that. I've already done that before, but I hadn't done an LS, and I hadn't done an EFI. And I was like, kind of kicked it around for a few days, and well, here we are. So we go to the track with my newfound high compression motor. Here's the rundown. 13-to-1, iron block 370, 823 heads have been CNC'd by Next Generation Performance, TPIS, kind of a homemade intake deal, MS4 cam, flashback like 2006. Either way, in my head, I'm thinking this thing should make like 500 to 600 horse crank. Should put the car bottom 10s. I'm gonna make my goal to go in the 9s on motor, then we're gonna spray it. We're gonna try to spray it in the 8s. And then at that point, I'm gonna put different rods in it, and we'll put the turbo back on with 13-to-1 compression because that would be sweet. So that was my plan. Go NA to the 9s, nitrous to the 8s, and then we're gonna go back to turbo and we're going to 7s with this thing. Well, after all that, I go to the track with this thing and it doesn't quite pan out. I let go of the button, I'm like, this is awful. This thing isn't moving, nothing's happening, and it proceeds to run like, I don't know, 11.0 at 120 miles an hour or something. So I'm frustrated. I leave the track Saturday. I take it to Stevens. I put on the dyno. This thing thunks down a solid 328 wheel horsepower. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what happened? Well, I had scabbed like some junky old tune in here thinking it don't matter. Well, it turns out the tune doesn't matter with the turbo as much because you're just shoving air in it, but an NA motor, they're a little pickier. So Steven was nice enough to help me work on this thing. We find 100 horse in this thing. We get up to like bottom 400 wheel, but it's still not quite what it's supposed to make. So here we are yet again. I thought I was going to something that'd be less maintenance, easier to work on, and we're right back to where we were. So I started thinking to myself, okay, the guy I bought it from said he put a cam in it. He did a cam swap. He hasn't ran it since. I'm like, maybe the cam timing's off. It's not. It's perfect. It's right where it should be. I started thinking maybe the push rod length, preload on the lifter isn't right. Nope, those things are mint. They're exactly what they should be. So what I have now is an NA motor with a lot of nice parts in it. It's got nice rods, it's got nice pistons, and supposedly high compression, and this thing won't get out of its own way. So the point is I don't really know where to go from here. I don't know what's wrong with the motor. Leak down passed. Cranking compression passed. Cam timing verified. Lifter preload verified. I don't know why it doesn't make the horsepower. I mean, I'm not really sure. I'm gonna put it back together. I'm gonna take it back to the racetrack with my newfound 100 horsepower that we found on the dyno and see what happens and just go from there. So to catch you up, the long story short, I lose attention quickly. I want to do something different. So the goal right now that we're proceeding down, get this thing in the 9s on motor, I want to spray it into the 8s, and then we're gonna put the turbo back on and we're gonna go 7s. I don't know if this is gonna work. So far it's been going awful. Turns out I really don't know what the hell I'm doing like usual. It's probably gonna cost way more money if I would just built a turbo motor, but you know what? Here we are. Decisions were made. I'm a little all over the place. Stand by.